Robbo, first 3 seconds of the Man City Arsenal game.
Yep.
Rodri's gone down like a sack of spuds. If I'm Arteta, that's 1-0 to the Arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. You're getting in players' heads. It's a big game. Set a mark early doors, and yeah, he didn't need to go down the way he went down. I mean, obviously, kick off, ball's gone back. Havertz is just running. Rodri steps across his line, like you do in a game anyway, and he's just fallen over. Yeah, but for me, it's trying to get a player. Obviously thinking that it'll go to VAR, referee might have a look at it, something different, but the referee just went, no, like, just get up, get on with the game.
Because Pep was fuming, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think it has an effect, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Pep's done his bit, they've had the little huddle, they're all ready to go, and all of a sudden, your star player, really, has gone down a little bit too easy, whether he's thinking he's going to get one on Havertz or not, or VAR will intervene. But it's nonsense, really, because it takes away the game. Just stand up, because Havertz is never going to knock anybody over, is he? So just have a look in his eye, said, no, just brush it off and away we go, play football.
What are you doing, Robbo, if you saw Kai Havertz running at you at the first few seconds of the game?
I'm just standing up. I'm just taking it.
Kicking him.
Mate, you're absolutely bodying the
Yeah, he's
marked.
marked. His marker's down on him later. Later in the game, he's marked. Yeah, that's it. Like, when there's an opportunity.
In the little black book.
There you go. You've got a little mark against your name now. Let's see what goes on now in the rest of the game. That's what you do. And it happened at the end, didn't it? Towards the end with Haaland and Partey. He's like, Haaland's obviously, again, kick off, Man City have equalised, run down, Partey steps across, and Haaland's literally just threw him across the other side of the pitch.
It's getting a little bit spicy, these games, aren't they? They're getting a little, it never really, it used to obviously be a big flair game, there was a lot of quality on show, but now it's starting to get a little bit of needle, a little bit of spice, and it's the sort of game I'm looking forward to. I'm definitely looking forward to the reverse fixture that's later in the season, I'll tell you that.
Do you think it's getting like United-Arsenal was those? Do you think that rivalry's getting to... No, but it's building towards...
If it keeps building like the way it's going, like Haaland chucking the ball on the back of Gabriel's head is phenomenal, by the way. I saw him do that and I was thinking, oh, mate, this is going to kick right off.
But he had his shirt over his head.
That's the only way he survived, because nobody knew who'd done it. He's like, oh.
Honestly, that's a full-on fight. If he hasn't got his top over his head there and he sees him do that, it's a full-on fight. I guarantee you it's a full-on fight. It's lack of respect from Haaland. The shithousery on it is incredible. But Arsenal, they're fuming with that if they all see it. Do you know what I mean? If that's not the last second of the game, the last kick of the game, and it's taken all the wind out of them, it's a massive fight.
I think you could feel at the end of the game when you saw the players normally like win, lose or draw. There's emotion for sure. But like you could see there was some real tension on the handshakes, and Grealish were in and around it all, and you know he'll look at you in the eye, Jack, and want to shake your hand, and Gabriel weren't up for it.
Yeah.
And Saliba, they're really pissed that they've conceded such a late goal.
Isn't it?
But I think it is building into that, and it's not the players' fault, as in the guys who are left on the field, that Trossard gets a red card for stupidity, is it?
Yeah.
And the whole thing then builds on the back of that. But I feel between the two sets of players, I think it's gone that way. And they'll have a little black book, like you're saying, because they'll be aware of Haaland smashing Partey, throwing the ball at Gabriel's head. So when the next fixture's coming round, the build-up will be...
Oh, it'll all be that, yeah.
They'll be looking forward to that game now already, straight away. They'll be thinking when we're down at Arsenal. That's what they'll be looking at.
Yeah,
they'll be going, we
Your
can't
little
wait.
black book, Robbo.
Yeah.
Here's a question. So I'm guessing your little black book wasn't that little.
As a diary, big diary.
With yours, so if someone had wronged you in a game, after the full-time whistle goes, would you still have that little black book? Would there still be a mark for the reverse fixture?
The next game, they'll have that little mark against them. Yeah.
So they're not escaping that either?
No, they're never escaping it.
For the rest of his career. I guarantee it will be, though, won't it?
It will be, yeah.
It will be for the
Even
rest
if we
of
went
his
to different
career.
divisions.
Yeah.
Different divisions, and we was in the opposite leagues, and we ended up back again. Yeah, I've seen you. You're in my black book. Your time.
If you missed them first time round, then for a suspension, an injury, or they're not there, whatever, you just keep it.
It's still there. It's still waiting.
It's in permanent marker.
It's still waiting.
You ain't writing it in pencil.
It's not getting rubbed out.
It's a Sharpie, mate. It is a permanent marker. Can we talk about the Trossard red card? I want to get your thoughts and opinions on it. Was it a red card?
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Silly, isn't it?
Yeah, it's stupid. Like I don't understand like Arteta getting really et up about it, because yes, as a manager, you're feeling the emotion, the passion of it. But it is the last kick in it. It's a stupid foul to start with that he would have given City a set piece at that time, and I'm sure the ref would have allowed him to take it. But it's a silly foul. The ref blows. We can all see it, and I think he knows after his kick because he's not booted it that far, but he's booted it far enough and he's let the team down. But what I felt as just a neutral watching the game, I thought the first half, 2-1, the game of football, two teams trying to win it. It were an open game. And then because of that, I watched the second half, and rightly or wrongly, it wasn't a game of football. It were 10 men in your own box, 6 defenders and 3 midfield players in front against Man City. So the whole aspect of the game changed, and it's not the ref's fault. He had to send him off. That's the rules. But the game itself changed. It had been a really good game first half, and then Arsenal obviously take Saka off, put White on. They want to see that game out. They're not interested in anything else. So from a Sunday afternoon, guy down the pub or sat in your armchair at home as a spectator sport, it just died a death because it were like the sessions you've both done a million times, just attack v defence as a phase of play.
Yeah. And that's where, like you say, the agitation in these games now, with how big it's getting, is because they're irritating each other. Both teams. Arsenal have probably pushed Man City last year, haven't they, to the brink of the Premiership, of winning it, where it's normally been like a Liverpool and Man United. Now Arsenal, they're coming forward as a team in the force. So Man City now, they're threatened by them.
Is that second half? Is that second half the sort of game that you'd have loved to?
It's a proper defensive performance, isn't it?
That's a bit of you, that.
Yeah, that is.
Backs to the walls, rolls your sleeves up, lads. Come on, let's get stuck in here.
Yeah, come on, let's go. And even players like Martinelli, how often do we ever see a player like that? He's playing left wing back, and he's been asked to do a job. Get back there, defend your life. He's putting tackles in. He's running back, running forward. Yeah, watching it from a defender's point of view, that's how you want to watch defending. But when you're watching a game like Man City Arsenal, you don't want to see it.
You want to see football.
You want to see it. Yeah, you don't want to see it like that. You want to see it going back and forth.
You could see it getting fired up in the first half, but that goal, the Arsenal goal, the Calafiore goal. Watto, we were talking about this with the referee and Kyle Walker.
Yeah, I mean
that's a mess, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a real mess. Look, I think the game had just got to that point where Michael Oliver thought, look, I need to talk to these two captains here. So he's give the foul. The ball's not quite in the right area when they take the free kick, but that's a different scenario. But he gets Saka and Kyle Walker together. Little bit of like, look, lads, I want you to calm it down. So Kyle Walker's obviously miles out of position. But as captain of the team, when he's running back, he's saying to a couple of them, switch on the, he's just, and he's allowed him to take it. Now, he weren't in the perfect and optimum position, but this is where it's difficult for the managers because obviously Guardiola's, I think, really raging at Kyle Walker for not getting back in, a little bit for the ref, but like Arteta's forgot all this bit, that gets them an equaliser because that's the art of management, isn't it? And you've got to turn these situations with the refs into your thing. But I think if he'd have given Kyle another 2 seconds, I don't think that would have happened because he has to run so far back in and then he's getting backed in and he's never been able to defend him as high as he wanted to do. He's drove him straight into the edge of the box. Hey, and look, and when he rolls it back, nobody's thinking Calafiori's whipping it left foot across Edison into that far corner. But if you take it back to the start of it, I think Michael Oliver, and you can see when Kyle goes up to him, I'm out of position, but he's got nowhere to go.
What is that a bit of Fozzie? Is that a bit of an unwritten rule in football? The referee should just give him a little bit more time.
Do you know what Kyle Walker should have done though as well is when he's talking to the referee and he's finished talking is wait there, wait. It's like you'll tell the referee, wait, let me get back in position then, let me get back in position. He should have been saying to the referee, let me get back in position because he sees the ref straight away want to go and put the whistle. No, wait, just wait a second. No, that's not fair. And he should have let him get back in a little bit. Can we just talk about the finish though from Calafiore? My gosh, you said it was whipped. I don't think it was fully whipped. It was inside of the foot struck. So it's kind of got a little bit of a curve on it, but he struck it at the same time. Incredible finish from a player making his proper debut in a proper big game as well. That's an unbelievable goal, that is. Unbelievable goal.
What about the header?
The header, right. So I want to talk about this set piece, Watto. I want to talk about with you as well, Robbo. How do you defend against this set piece? Because they gave Man City a little warning. Yeah. They already gave him a warning from a corner earlier on, and then it's identical. The same ball on top of the goalkeeper. He can't come. Defenders can't clear it. Steamrolls it in the back of the net.
I was talking to Tom off air earlier about it, and it's very rare. I mean, they set up seven zones, Man City, and so you've obviously got 3 men, and you've got a mismatch. So Gabriel first corner, Doku's marking him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a waste of time, isn't it? But you work on the training field and you'll try and get some body contact and whatever, and then all the rest of them are at the back zone. But you talk about Arsenal set-piece coach and the magician and all this. You're learning all the time from other people. So the first time I saw that set-piece, Huddersfield Town did it. Huddersfield Town did it and caused more chaos because they were outside the back of the 6-yard box. And it's an in-swinging ball, and they didn't stay at the back big and isolate. They just, like the red arrows, fill in the spaces, and it's whipped in. And obviously all the zones don't see it. So everybody's learning from somebody all the time. And I'm sure whoever were in charge at Huddersfield Town set plays had seen it from
somewhere else,
because that's the game. But when you're all zoning like that, it's very difficult. And obviously Gabriel's isolated. Now, the one thing everybody's talking about is, well, Haaland, their biggest guy, they've won, is at the front. But if they change the set piece and they do what I said and they make the runs and they come across you and it's whipped, as a goalie, that one in that front post, dangerous, isn't it? But I think in the end, you've got to think about putting somebody in that back zone and changing it a little bit. So when I worked at Southampton, Brentford did something similar and I'd got a spare zone at the front. But when they whip that one deep into your back, you're prepared to lose one here and go back one to try and help.
Yeah.
So I think you can adjust in the game. You have to do. Obviously, they adjusted to put Walker on Gabriel, but I was saying to Tom, it's the one thing, because as soon as you take that one step, Robbo, you're going to and he just dips around the back of you. But the amount of time that they're getting on the training field, for the two guys to block Edison off, Calafiori to come on to Guardiola at the back, and then for him to make a dummy run and still get the timing, he's headed 2 balls identical, one wide and one in. I mean, they're spending a lot of time on the training.
That's a
there's a lot of work.
Well, they did it at Tottenham last week.
Yeah.
They did it at
Exactly
Tottenham.
the same thing.
Exactly the same thing. It's like Romero. It's when you look at the detail of Arsenal with what they're doing, it's like they're picking certain players to do certain things.
Targeting.
So like with Gabriel last week, with Romero, it's just that little nudge. And then he gets that power. But again, you've got to give Gabriel credit because he's the one who's actually, he wants it more. Out of all of them defenders, he's the one that's going to go and attack it.
He's the one in the.
It's hard to mark.
He's a Craig
It's hard to mark that.
When you were playing, would you prefer to go man-for-man marking or zonal?
Man for man, because like you say, you've got a grip of your man. You can put him off a little bit. You're not giving him space. Yeah, you're only like you say, your only sort of worry is if he gets a little bit of run on you, or there's that second man that will block you. That's all you're worried about. But with Gabriel, it's like now it's just no matter what other teams are trying, he's overpowering them all the time.
You could put 2 men.
You could put 2 men on him, but then it will create space for someone else because of what Arsenal are doing.
The delivery is so good.
Spot on.
He's such a powerful
spot on the delivery.
It went to VAR as well, didn't it? And I think Martinelli, to be fair to him, he just judged it perfectly because he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He just did enough without them, obviously, without pushing an elbow.
He can't never give a foul there because Edison's done on both balls.
Yeah.
They're exactly the same. He's not showed any physicality or anything to try and want to deal with that situation, and the ball's too good.
Do you know why it's so clever as well? Because he keeps his arms.
Yeah, do you see it?
He keeps his arms in, and he makes a point of it as well. He almost curves his shoulders in, saying, "No, look, I'm just standing here.
Standing in the way.
If I'm just in the way, I'm just in the way."
The only thing I'd want to say on it is, in terms of all these set-piece coaches and that, the set-piece coaches will spend hours looking at everything. And when I used to do it, I used to watch all the set-pieces throughout Europe, just trying to get a steer on But it still comes down to the bottom line. You can be the greatest set-piece coach. It's about that manager giving you a platform and time because they want to do all their own sessions. But you can see that Arteta gives this guy at Arsenal time because that's why it works so well. It's no point turning up on a Friday morning and defending just 4 balls when we'll come on to some of the goals that have been conceded. 1 contact header, that's it, finished. It is working, I would say, 2-3 days a week minimum on the attacking and the defending side to make sure these things are drilled as much as the 6-3 defending block when they're down to 10 men or the attacking. But it's all as important. But a lot of managers don't give the set-piece coaches the platform and the time on that.
Yeah. Do you know what the important thing with that is when you're working on attacking corners, players don't really want to do it. Players don't, they kind of sack it off a little bit. It's like an afterthought, isn't it? You normally do it on a Friday afternoon for about 2 or 3 minutes and they'll whip one in, the goalie will come take it, or they'll get a head on it and it'll go in the back and they'll go, yeah, brilliant, well done. But I can guarantee you that Mikel Arteta is making a point of saying, right, lads, we've got this training session where it's lovely football, it's boxes, it's possession, it's all the kind of patterns of play that we want to do. And then we've got a 20-minute, half an hour block at the end where it is set pieces. And everybody switch on. I don't want to see anybody chatting away, talking, having a nice time, not listening. You pay attention and we do this properly because this is massive for us on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, it's been bearing fruits.
Massive
hugely.
it is, yeah. Really
what about, before we move on, Fozzie, David Raya?
Yes.
I mentioned it earlier on in the season on one of the shows. Mm-hmm. Is he now getting towards the top of the top in terms of goalkeepers in the Prem?
Yeah, he's. I think he's probably been Arsenal's player of the season so far. Champions League in the week as well, on fire, penalty save, double save. He's had every game pretty much this season. He's been making massive top saves, really big saves at really big moments. Came up tops yesterday again. Some really big saves as well. He just looks happy and comfortable, don't he?
Yeah,
he does. He just looks happy and comfortable.
The saves, I think we've got to a point where there were excellent saves.
Yeah.
But I think you'd expect him to make them.
Now. Yeah.
I thought the game changer for me, and I know he wants to dominate, but like he was really dominant and he was taking corners, and he took one just before the end of the game, and there were 4 or 5 of them virtually jumped on him because they were thinking that was the game done. And I think he's become that front foot goalie, and even though they're so strong in front of him, the 2 centre halves in particular, he still wanted to come and dominate. And I felt that like his team and everything with it thought they'd won the game.
Yeah.
But I think it's credit to him that I think the saves he made, I expected him to make them saves now.
Yeah.
Good that,
I think because it looks like he's gone up a level.
Yeah.
It does look like he's gone up. And earlier on in the season, I think we'd spoken about him and it wasn't as positive. And I think a few people in the comments were saying like, you said he wasn't very good last week. And it's not a case of that. You guys can only say what you see at that moment in time. And actually, if someone has a bad game, and we're going to talk about Onana in a bit, you can say that he was poor one week and actually the next week he was brilliant.
There's no coincidence as well, though, that David Raya this season has been the best that he's been for Arsenal since Aaron Ramsdale leaves. Yeah. Because there isn't that, am I number one, am I number two? Even when he's number one last season, he knows that he's got Aaron Ramsdale there, which is a bit of an uncomfortable situation. He knows now, there's no doubt whatsoever, he's number one, Neto's number two. Let me just crack on at being a top goal.
I think there's a lot to be said for that, and you'll know by playing in goal whether the competition's slightly different because the number two's not as good, but you know that it's great when the guys in front of you love you.
Yeah.
And that's what he feels. You see that in the game. But when the manager...
Yeah.
When you know whatever happens, the manager's got your back because he knows you're number one at this club, and I think he just feels all that now. And that then transfers on.
But Raya was only on loan last year as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
So there's still that worry.
True,
there's still that little bit of a worry for a goalkeeper, knowing that Ramsdale is there as the number one.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've come in taking his place, and I was critical of him last year with crosses, especially with crosses coming into the box. I always used to think he's going to drop it or he's going to fluff one here where an opposition team will tap one in. But then watching him yesterday, like he just
comfy,
comfortable, just come in and like Tom said, as a defender now to play, have that goalkeeper behind you, taking that pressure off you, especially the amount of pressure they were under with Man City playing them little balls in and around the box, no real threat because they were shooting from long distance. But when you've got a goalie now that's just coming and collecting everything, it just makes you so much more relaxed as a defender, knowing now you've got a safe pair of hands behind you dealing with it.
And Fozzie, will he be happier around the place in the week? Because everyone knows Aaron Ramsdale's a good guy and a pro. But will he be happier knowing that in training he's the guy, he's number one, and just feel a bit more at ease?
Yeah, that's exactly. Everything's fallen into place now. Like I say, he's not on loan anymore. He's signed. He's a permanent member of the squad. The manager loves him. The lads in front of him love him. He knows he is the number one. The number two goalkeeper's not up to his level. He knows that for a fact. And that's, like I say, there's no surprise. This season, he's been Arsenal's player of the season for me. He's been incredible. Absolutely incredible.
West Ham, Chelsea?
Early Saturday kickoff. I watched the first half of this Watto and West Ham were horrific. Horrific.
Absolutely. I were actually blown away because, look, West Ham, their fans are pretty brutal when it's not going particularly well, whoever's playing or whoever's manager. But I felt actually in a strange way sorry for the players because I really like Lopetegui, but he set them up really not to fail, for sure. He's a Premier League manager, but the way the game panned out, they were set up to fail. And Chelsea just absolutely destroyed them. They went man for man in areas where you can't go man for man. High line, so disjointed. and Nicolas Jackson and Palmer, that first half, it could have been, to be honest, anything.
Man for man can work, right? It really can, but not when you're against pace.
No.
Man for man don't work when you're playing against pace. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and like the first goal is isolated, and then the second goal, it's a high line. One of the centre half steps up, and it's just a straight through.
Was it Alvarez?
Edson Alvarez.
Mate, he looked like he was running in treacle.
That's exactly what he was running, and it was painful to watch. It really was.
But I think to make that decision for him, and anybody, I mean, I don't think you could pick anybody in that West Ham team, apart from one of their own flying wingers, to do that job. They were in trouble, weren't they? You know what I mean? And to be fair to Chelsea, they saw it, they isolated it, and were absolutely devastating. And actually, they look like the real deal again, don't they? Yeah. They got over the line last week against Bournemouth, which could have gone either way. Obviously, Sanchez saved a penalty, which is a big moment, and they get a 1-0 win. And then from that, the momentum's built for them, and confidence is massive in any sport, but for surely younger lads in football. And they seem to have got something going. And, I mean, for West Ham to lose 3 games at the start of the season, which is the worst they've ever had in the club's history, it's a real damning stat for the manager, because I think he's a good manager, but it takes a lot to turn them West Ham fans back on. And I was sat at Villa Park before the game watching it, and as soon as the third goal went in, obviously just after half-time, naturally at West Ham, boos for sure. Yeah. But then the cameras panned to Karen Brady, David Sullivan, and it always creates this thing at West Ham. When it's not going well, straight to the ownership, he's going to be under pressure. West Ham fans wanted a change with David Moyes, winning cups, finishing 14th. That's not good enough. Well, I'm not so sure what you're looking at now, even though I believe you've got a good manager and still a good team.
There were a lot of boos, Fozzie. There were a lot of boos. And you do have to question, like, if you were a West Ham fan, what would genuinely be your expectation this season?
It's that they will want to finish top 14. West Ham fans will want to. Maybe top 12, maybe top 10. That's what West Ham fans would have said at the beginning of this season. But the way that they've started, the big worry for me, the way that they've started is, they might have got the tactics wrong, but whatever. But it's just how sloppy they were as well. That first half, Robbo, I need to get your opinion on this, because they were so sloppy, right? Look at how unswitched on they are, basically. So for the first goal, Nicolas Jackson just runs through it. It's a quick ball by Jadon Sancho. Nothing special, by the way. Nothing special. And he still manages to run in a straight line and still be able to cut inside. And not one West Ham player switched on. The start of the second half, same thing. 45 seconds, something like that. They're not switched on. And that's the bit there that makes me just think, well, if you're doing that in the Premier League, if you are not switched on for a couple seconds in each game, that's it.
As a defender, if you're playing against someone quicker, like a Jackson, you know straight away in a 1v1 battle, if I'm going man-v-man, he's beating me. So as a West Ham defender there, you're thinking, I can't really do what I'm wanting to do, even though the manager's giving me the tactics of how I'm going to do it. But it's hard motto, isn't it? Yeah. It's like, straight away, if I see Nicolas Jackson and I know I'm coming up against him, I'm not beating him for pace, so I've got to use my head. But I would want to defend a certain way. But if my manager's telling me I've got to go 1v1 and do it like that, then I'm expecting someone else then to protect my space if I'm going in.
What are you doing in that situation? Are you taking ownership?
I've got to take ownership.
You've got to marshal it yourself and do whatever 100% you to make sure he isn't able to just run in behind.
You've got to marshal it. And when you look at the goals, it's like you can't concede goals like that. Yeah. You can't give a team like Chelsea confidence to grow into the games.
The thing is, I'd say, is you know as a coach now, as well as being a defender and a fullback in that situation, but when you've done your work on whatever their scheduling is, Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, depending on when they've had some time and downtime, you can't create in that 11v11 or in that phase of play, you getting isolated against Nicolas Jackson. Because you've probably, the manager would have seen you defending against whoever, I'm not quite sure who you'd have been up against, but you'd have probably done all right in the training, and he'd have thought, well, I think I might have got this right. All of a sudden, the pitch looks twice as big in the stadium after the first action, and you're isolated 1v1 on the Saturday lunchtime kickoff, and all of a sudden he's probably thinking, well, it didn't look like that Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, but that's it's
naivety.
It's the manager's responsibility there, though, to look at the opposition that they're playing on a Saturday afternoon. And when you see a Chelsea and you see pace, you go, man for man ain't going to work, lads. We need to be aware of this. We need to make sure we're giving ourselves a little bit more space, a little bit more room. We might have to be a little bit deeper. That's on him a little bit, isn't it?
Sure.
We're talking about West Ham, but we've got to give Chelsea a bit of credit as well.
Yeah. Just quickly, before we move on, would that have happened to a David Moyes West Ham?
No. David Moyes, well,
not have done that. It's
against Arsenal it did, didn't it? remember. But that's the
When
quality of the
fans were
players.
leaving at half
Yeah,
time.
that's the quality of the players.
He wouldn't have exposed.
He wouldn't have
himself
exposed his
1v1 there
defenders.
like that.
No, he wouldn't have put his defenders in them positions. As David Moore's team, they're nice and solid. They're hard to play against. They're hard to break down. That was just too easy. It was like, well, go on then.
Because that's the problem. Like on the first goal you're alluding to, normally with Moyes' team, he's got 2 defensive midfield players there. So even if you're isolated here as the fullback, he don't want a centre half coming out here, which the centre half didn't do. But he'd have a 6 coming back in to get in as a 2v1. And really, when his back 4 were really tight, a 6 would take that run. So they've got something here in front. They had nothing in front of them.
Yeah. We've been quite critical of Chelsea off the pitch, saying it's a bit of a shambles in the recent weeks. And actually, even a couple of weeks ago, we were saying Nicolas Jackson doesn't maybe always look composed, but credit where credit's due to him. He slotted them away, and Chelsea are purring, aren't they?
Yeah, I think we've got to give credit to Chelsea a bit, to be fair, because there's so much being said about them and some of the players at the signing of the contract, and I still disagree with the way that they're giving contracts out. It's ridiculous. But Maresca did a press conference in the week, actually, and he was just talking about the players that he's got and the squad that he's got, and he said, I think you've got this all wrong here, basically. I know now I've got 2 players for every single position, very similar to what Arsenal, very similar to what Man City, Liverpool have got. 2 players that are competitive in each position, and that's the way it is now, and he reeled them all off as well. Right wing, left wing, put centre forward, centre midfield. He's got 2 players in each position now, and the players that he's putting out on the pitch on Saturday are doing it, and that's the most important.
There's just still a little bit of collateral with excess players, isn't there? I think that's what probably created.
Yeah, when you got the Chilwells and that just sort of hanging around, and Mudryk already being linked with a move away, and they're the bits there that are the stories that kind of detract from
Jackson,
it a little bit.
20 Prem goals this season?
Yeah, probably.
Do you reckon he's got it in?
Yeah, probably.
I think he's got it in him, yeah. But I think the manager, Maresca, I think he needs a lot of credit because I think somehow he's gelled this group together somehow, some way. Maybe Sterling leaving could have been the catalyst for it. I'm not quite sure, but there's certainly, since the window shut and the international break, they look like there's a bit more about them for sure.
Yeah.
And who did you captain FPL this week, Fozzie?
Oh, I've had a stink. I don't want to talk about it. I had Mo Salah. My team was stinking, honestly.
You captain Mo Salah?
I captain Mo Salah. I don't know why.
I had a little
He got an assist, didn't he?
He got an assist at least.
I had a punt this week, and it kind of cancelled itself out because I didn't go for Haaland, and I did captain Dom Solanke.
Yeah,
so
take that.
He did score, and he's
Take
got
that.
off the mark. How important, Robbo, is that?
Oh, it's a big weight off his shoulders, as we say. But he's a very good striker, and he just needs service. And when you're playing a Tottenham team like they've got with your Maddisons, your Sons, you're going to get service. Yeah. And it's only a matter of time before once you get that 1 goal, you know you're going to score more now. Yeah. But probably people don't look at his all-round game with Dominic, but he's a typical centre forward that will do everyone else's jobs as well. So he'll run the channels, he'll chase back, win tackles, and that probably doesn't get spoken about. What will get spoken about is, he's not scoring goals. But he brings a lot more to the team. For me now, with him scoring that first goal, I think he'll go on. Hopefully, an England call-up will lift his confidence and put him in the right stead as well. And Brennan Johnson as well, getting off the mark. He's had a lot of stick recently, so that's 2 in 2 now.
Yeah.
The cup goal at was it Coventry in the week?
Yeah.
And then obviously again at the weekend against Brentford. So
Great strike as well. Then.
Yeah, it's a great strike. James Maddison, I think he's been different class. Yeah, he just links Tottenham's play so well with that 10 role. But again, like the set pieces, the delivery's always on point. He's an intelligent footballer, and he'll be hurting as well, being left out of the England squad. So he's trying to prove a point now, and he was obviously unfit towards the end of the season. He picked up that big injury, and he was a big loss for Tottenham. Now he's back fit, and again, he looks like he's a man on a mission. And
he's a bit different, isn't he, James Maddison? And you look at the England squad, obviously, Grealish didn't go, but actually, to their teams, they do offer that something. They can beat a player, they can work in tight spaces and find that killer ball. Yeah. But how good was Maddison?
Maddison's been their standout for the season, but in this game, it's just the scanning and the awareness and just being able to get them little half turns and just know where to play the pass, but know where to your body to get in a position just to get half a yard of space. And then he's clever enough to manipulate the ball and know that people are jumping. And he's really the one that's getting that team ticking. Yeah. And a bit like Robbo said, I think Solanke, not being disrespectful to a Bournemouth, you come to a Spurs, that gives you a platform to get international recognition. If he can start knocking a few goals in, we talk about England in Harry Kane, and obviously Tony's gone.
Ollie Watkins.
And Watkins. But there's a space there for somebody like him with that dynamic, You know what I mean? Because he has got the full bag of tricks. If you think he's up against a Calvert-Lewin who has got really injury problems, if you want to rely on a guy, and I think the way that Ange gets him playing and the work rate and the physicality he's got, he can be a real big asset, not only for Spurs, but on the international scene as well. But Tottenham really did well in that game because Brentford scored after 20-odd seconds again. That's twice on the road in the last 2 weeks, and they've ended up getting beat both games, which is probably a little bit worrying for them. But you'd never think that Brentford would get caught playing out from the back the way they do, but that's the modern way.
Yeah, that's it.
It's what managers demand, even of a Brentford that you would think wouldn't be as expansive and a little bit more direct. They were playing. Tottenham nicked it. Solanke gets his first goal, and from that moment on, really, the momentum.
Brentford are going to be fine. They're absolutely fine. To be fair, they've played Spurs away, Liverpool away, Man City away already.
I did say at the start of the season, though, when we was on there, that I did say that they'd get relegated.
And me,
I'm changed my mind. I'm going to change my mind.
No, but you've forgotten about the three teams that have come up.
I know.
Mbemo and Wissa. I know Wissa's out injured for a little while now, but Mbemo absolutely they're flying.
What a finish!
What a finish!
Incredible. 3 big goals really for Tottenham. To be fair, 3 sort of important goals as well. Dom Solanke obviously, getting that weight off his shoulders. Brennan Johnson, he's had a tough week, social media wise, even though he shouldn't really pay attention to any of that rubbish. And James Maddison as well. So I think if he wouldn't have scored, people wouldn't have been talking about him so much. But his performance was so good that I think even for him, getting on the score sheet, people are talking about him a bit more love for him. I think we'll start to see the James Maddison that we saw from last season. But I've got to talk about the Vicario incident. And it's been a little bit sort of troubling for Vicario this season. He's had a few little mistakes already. This game in particular, there was one where he got the ball played back for him. He didn't know what to do. He did it a little bit. He took a touch inside, nearly got caught, really nearly got caught. And then there was the one on the outside edge of the box as well. It's like he's coming to try and create something for himself. It's a ball right on the edge of the box. You don't really need to come and get involved in that, do you? And he ends up touching it outside the area.
I think you were really lucky. And if you're on the opposition as a player, a few of their lads got booked because of it. And I think one of their members of staff, it's a cross he don't need to come for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you said, it's a yard inside the box. He comes, he knows he's got momentum, so he has to drop it.
Yeah.
And the first action, he kind of got away with it, but he touched it outside the box. And how the referee, the linesman, the fourth official have not seen it and warrant that then VAR get involved in it is beyond me, because that's why it's supposed to be.
It's a red card, right? Is it a red card?
I think it'd give him a yellow card.
Do you? Yeah.
I think it'd just give him a yellow card. But it would have created a situation that there's no need to be.
Yeah.
But I just don't think he's playing at ease. He's wanting to get involved in things that's not his. So you're working too much.
Yeah.
You're chasing the game a little bit. Let your defenders deal with that. So he got lucky, and then rightly, as you said, in the second half, he got away with one so much. In the end, he makes a good save. And
he makes a 2-1 as well. He makes a fantastic save.
But that's the way they play. And I spoke earlier in the season, I think, about Brentford being one of, if not the best pressing teams. So you know what's coming with them. Yeah. You've got to see it and play early. And just make sure everybody's in the position.
Every week, lads, we've got to talk about this. I understand modern day football, people want to play out from the back and they stick to that. Every single week we are seeing so many goals from overplaying at the back or the keeper, like overcomplicating things. At what point do you just put your laces through the ball? So, Robbo, let me ask you as a coach, is there some kind of a risk strategy where you go, if it's high risk as a coach, just put your ball through it? At what point do people just lump it out?
As a player, I think you're the player that has to make that decision. Yes, there's a certain way now. We're seeing it. The way the game's changing, the way the game wants to be played is everyone wants to see this like football out from the back to build up to go forward. But it's a risk. It's a high-risk game. If you make that one bad pass of what we're seeing, it leads to a goal now in the Premier League because of the quality of the player. But for me, it's that player. You're the one on the ball. You make the right decision. So as a manager, I want my players to make the right decisions in the right areas.
Russell Martin, for example, are you going to give that player a bollocking because he hasn't stuck to your philosophy?
Well, I've asked the player to do what I want him to do. But then, like you say, if that player knows that he's under the pressure and he wants to still play that ball knowing that he's under pressure, that's down to him. So you will give that player a bollocking. You will make it known by going, what are you seeing? Why are you doing that? But then that player will be, well, yeah, but you've told me to do it like this.
Yeah. And
the player will always make that excuse by going, this is how you want us to play. This is how you're telling me to try and do it.
Because this must sit uncomfortably with you, Foz. I mean, you played in teams and, like with Pulis, for example, get the ball away from the goal. You must watch this and cringe sometimes.
Sometimes I do. I think it's asking for trouble, a lot of it. So many teams now are so aware that teams want to do this, that they are working so hard on their press because they know that now is going to be their best chance of scoring a goal is when the opposition have the ball. So they work so hard at perfecting their press because teams just fall into the trap of it. And it's almost, you've got to be so smart and clever with the press as well. Look like you're not bothered, boom, step on them, go. We'll talk about the Fulham game in a minute. There's a couple in that game where Fulham got away with the one, Newcastle got punished. But like Robbo said there, if a manager goes out to his lads and goes, lads, listen, I want you to play out from the back regardless of the pressure. Don't care, you play out. Nobody puts your boot for it, then he won't give them a bollocking. Very few managers say that. Virtually every manager will say there's a time and a place for it. Play out from the back when you can, but when it needs be, get that ball gone. And I'll trust you guys to know when that moment should be as well. Right, Brighton Forest. Again, it was kind of like the warm-up for the big game. I didn't watch it. I've seen the highlights, listened to it on the radio. By all accounts, Brighton, very, very decent, though.
Hey, look, Brighton are a good team. In fact, the way the game panned out, finishing as a draw, both teams still unbeaten.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an incredible start to the season for both teams, to be perfectly honest. Forest really set up quite tight defensively, and on transition, they were amazing. The penalty comes through a transition, soft penalty. The one point I thought about, and I said off air earlier, obviously Prowsey's gone to Forest now, the set-piece master and penalty king, really. But it's interesting, even though he's gone to a new team, though no fuss, penalty, Chris Wood's taking the penalty. Yeah. And until Chris Wood misses a penalty, that'll stay the same. So fair play to them. They've obviously discussed it. Chris Wood takes it, slots it away, 1-0. But then they were always just defending. And to be fair, on the counter and the transition, they're very quick and a tough team. You know, they've got some pace in that team, to be fair to them. But Brighton kept doing what they do. It's a great equaliser, to be fair. I think we'd talk about the goalie when Welbeck scores just before half-time with a free kick, because you don't want to be beat that side. I mean, he don't even dive for it.
It's his side. He's got to stand there. He can't guess. He can't sort of take a step to his right as he's about to take it. If he stands there and just reacts to it, he saves it.
Yeah, I think so. And then you feel as though the game's won. But to be fair to Nuno, makes 3 changes at half-time because even though the team set up as he set them up to be, he didn't expect to be 2-1 down after being 1 up. Makes 3 changes at half-time. And still, even though it's a transition game, they're getting a few more chances as Brighton are trying to get that third one. And in the end, they scored a great goal. But it's just the point you've just made, because whenever Brighton are sucking you in for the transition and the press, Forest nick it, and you've got a big... And that's where the game comes, because you have a high line now. You're left 1v1, because that's the modern game.
High-risk football, lads.
High-risk football.
But that's where the substitutions help you, don't they, as a manager? It's like, you know you need to change something, and you take that risk of going, the player's either got his head up his arse because he's not starting, or what he's going to do is now he's going to come on the pitch and he's going to make a point. And the 3 subs, as soon as they got on there, it changed the game a little bit, didn't it? They give him a little bit more zip.
Last week at Liverpool, didn't they? Elanga and Odoi.
Odoi
came on, changed
the game.
Yeah.
And for Forest, like you say, it's they get the equaliser, and then
what about the penalty, Robbo?
Talk about the pen's soft, but as a player now, if you're going to feel something, you're going to go down, and then it's the referee's decision on what he wants to do. But when you look at the Forest player, he's clever. He's just moved his leg, and then the Brighton player then just stretched his leg out, and you can see there's contact, so he's going to go over.
If you're a defender there, you're fuming.
You're fuming because you know that you're the wrong side a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's no need for you to really go for that ball. So you're better off just staying tight, force him out a little bit if you can, and then we'd be nice and solid. But yeah, there's really no need for the Brighton defender to go for it, really.
And then what about the red card fest that followed?
This is a joke. I think the Gibbs white, even the referee, when it zooms in, he got the ball, and then the next thing he's showing him a yellow and a red, and you're like,
I think that came because it was good to be
fourth official, wasn't it?
Anthony Taylor's 4th official, innit? Because they took him off the games after all the cards last week.
Right.
So he did the game at Southampton as 4th official, then just had a little trot down to Brighton and were 4th official again. But you're right, the ref said,
referee got the ball.
and Anthony Taylor is fourth official. I mean, it's virtually in front of him, innit? And I think that's what causes the problem, because the Brighton bench come up, and it was a poor tackle, to be fair, worthy of a yellow as a minimum. So it's definitely a second yellow and off, even though the ref got it wrong. But the Brighton bench are up looking for a bit more, and then Nuno's up saying he's got the ball and whatever, and then there comes the little bit of history. Nuno thinks the ref's done him, and he's saying, you've done me twice. Right, you're on a red card. And obviously the Brighton clamour for a card or a red card for the initial tackle. Right, you're off. So both managers come off. And it's chaos for nothing, really. But actually, to be fair to Anthony Taylor, I thought he did the right thing intervening, because the ref got it wrong.
Isn't it? Well, do you know what I find quite amusing is that post-match, the managers aren't allowed to do the interviews. Like, so the assistants get dragged out, don't they, wheeled out. Off you go, what's that Fozzie all about?
The whole thing's pathetic, really, to be fair. The Brighton manager especially didn't even need to get involved. He didn't need to get a red card there, but it actually has a bit of an effect on the team as well. So for the next game, the managers aren't going to be in the dugout, and it does. It actually has a little bit of an effect. When that manager is sat somewhere else, the players kind of take their foot off the gas. Even if it's a 2%er, I promise you, even if it's 2%, they'll take their foot off the gas a little bit. When Tony Pulis, for example, right, whoever was playing on his side, would give you 10% more because Tony Pulis is there.
Said that about Adama
Guarantee you.
Traore,
It's the way that it goes. So when he's not on the dugout, every single player will just only be 2%, but it makes a difference.
Was it Mourinho back in the day? Was he banned for a Champions League? And they saying he was going to go
wheeled him in the skip.
Wheeled him in the skip. So maybe you'll see Herzler getting in with the old laundry.
No, but you know what it's like for a player. So if I'm the assistant or a coach behind any of the Premier League managers now, or Pulis, and he's not there, and I get a message through Pulis in the stand saying, Watto, go and tell X, Y, or Z. I'll go and tell him, but he's not listening to me like he's listening to the manager. And it's like, so you do lose something, 100%. And it will be interesting, because I think for Southampton next week, they're at Bournemouth, and I think he's missing the game, Bournemouth, on the Monday night. So it'd be interesting whether that plays in their favour, but I'm not sure,
And then what about Liverpool last week? Obviously, they've got done at home to Forest. Was that a blip, Fozzie?
Yeah, it was a blip. They absolutely battered Forest, didn't they? Forest did really well again. Great start for Forest. But yeah, Liverpool back on it. Again, it's a Saturday 3 p.m, so you don't really get to watch the whole game, do you? I'm listening to the commentary on TalkSport. Troy Deeney was doing it, actually. He said that Bournemouth were just, they didn't really offer too much. They had a couple of chances late on, but he was a little bit worried that Liverpool didn't really go for the throat and try and get 5 or 6 or 7. He thinks that might be the difference between a Liverpool and Arsenal and a Man City, as Liverpool haven't quite got that cutthroatness. But it was a comprehensive win, to be perfectly honest with you. I think for Bournemouth, Kepa, for his debut, not the best of starts.
No, look, he's back in goal because he couldn't play last week when they got beat off Chelsea, because obviously parent club. So he's missed last week. They'd had the international break before. It's a long time without him playing football. Yeah. And obviously, look, he's in a really good position as a start position when the ball's played. But then it's all about the next decision, isn't it? And it's a shocker, and he lets him in. And then I think he's had a little bit of head loss, because even though it's really poor in front of him, they concede again after 2 minutes. And he should be spreading and blocking better to save that second goal.
He's just a bit bigger and braver.
Yeah, and it's too easy. Yeah. And then, look, when you go 2-0 down at Anfield, under normal circumstance, there is no way back. And I think it's the Liverpool philosophy with the Dutch coach. I think it's more about position and ball possession and positioning. So at 3-0, he's not going to don't need to run about. It's job done. Yeah. And that's the difference, whereas I think a Klopp style of football would have been, boom, we'll go for it. A Guardiola, we'll go for it. We'll go for it if you're Arteta. This is a different style now. A 3-0 win, still a great win, but at half-time the game will kind of done, really.
Yeah.
And then Luis Diaz, couple more 6 involvements in 5 games. He's rattling them in. Is he now top table of forwards in the Premier League?
He's kind of playing on the left-hand side for Liverpool, but do you know what it is? It's typical, right? Because a couple of weeks ago, I've got the choice of Jota or Diaz for fantasy, right? I've got the choice. And they're both very similar, aren't they? Very similar money. And I go for Jota, because I think, do you know what? Jota's going to get a lot of chances up top this season for Liverpool, right? He's going to get a lot. No, Diaz is the one that comes in. He's the one that's on fire, and it's on me basically because he is fantastic. He's exactly the sort of player that I'm pretty sure every team in this league would want.
He's just a live wire.
A Man City would want him. An Arsenal would want him. He is a live wire. He's energy. He likes to get stuck in.
Would he get
physical.
into the Man City and Arsenal team?
I'm not saying he's starting week in, week out, but he would definitely do a job for them when called upon. Without doubt, he would. He's an incredible player, and yeah, Liverpool lucky to have him because he's not just the goal scorer, he's not just the assist. He does everything. He gets involved.
And how relieved did Darwin when he scored his goal?
Yeah, I think it's a big thing. Well, obviously, we've got the stats here. He's gone without 14 games without a goal. I mean, it's an unbelievable finish, isn't it? To step in on his left foot and whip it in. But I think that's the kind of forward he is, isn't he? You know, I think he does a lot of work for the team. He seems like the players really like him. But ultimately, if you're playing in that front three for Liverpool, you've got to have more assists and you've got to have more goals.
Yeah.
And that's the only output that's really going to matter. So for him to get that, I think if you're a Liverpool supporter, player or manager or coach, if he can get some momentum, I think it gives them a better outlook looking forward because I think they've become too reliant on the rest of them.
Did he cry when he scored the goal? Apparently, I saw a picture of him. Sure. It looked like he was crying or something.
I would have
like
thought
that.
he'd be quite emotional. It looks like he plays with his heart on his sleeve, doesn't he? So, I mean, the pressure. I have never played up front, but I know what it's like conceding plenty of goals. You want to keep a clean sheet. So if you're not scoring goals, I think it will be a weight on.
14's
It's a long time.
Did you ever cry, Robbo? Did you ever cry when you scored a goal?
No. No. But you could, like you say, with players like Núñez, you go into a club like Liverpool, there's added pressure, isn't there? Especially with the strikers that they've had over the years. There's that extra incentive of, well, we've got to look at you now and see what you're all about. And it's hard for these foreign players sometimes to come in and hit the ground running. It takes some time. You've got to give them game time, give them minutes. And, yeah, I mean, when I look at him, I think potential, loads of potential.
Physically,
physically, you can bully defenders. He makes so many of them clever runs, doesn't get the ball sometimes. But when you've got a player like Trent now, with his range of passing, Núñez must be thinking, tell you what, I'll make this one, and I know 100% he is picking me out on that. So I think for someone like a Núñez now, it's like getting that game time, scoring will take big pressure again off his shoulders, and then now can he keep doing it?
They've got a good rotation in that that front three, and then obviously they've got Jota, Darwin, they've got Kakpo. There's some good competition for the
squad.
I have to say, watching the thing, the pass of the week was McAllister. A ball drops to him in the centre circle on a half volley, and he just went boof.
Yeah.
And he put him. I mean, Kepa made a good save from the action, didn't he? But oh my God, I think you'll do well to see a better pass on the half volley. The weight of it. Oh my God, it was like chapeau.
Before we move on, Southampton Ipswich, Trent Alexander-Arnold quickly. Contracts up in the summer.
Getting tied down.
How do we get to this place with
to.
Trent Alexander-Arnold, lads, where he's running his contract down?
Did you hear his quote in the week, this weekend? He said, I've signed 3 or 4 contract extensions since I've been at the club. None of them were played out in public, and this one's not going to be either. But it is.
I don't know what that means, lads. I don't know what that means. All I know is that if you've got 9 months left on your contract, that's not good. That's not good.
It would be, in my opinion, it would take a monumental thing for him to still be a Liverpool player.
I agree.
The money that will be on offer to him.
I agree.
As a free transfer.
I agree.
Wherever that is.
Wherever it is. He could go. He could either carry it on doing what he's doing and go to Real Madrid on probably double his wages. He could go out to Saudi on 10 times his wages.
Is he going to go to Saudi?
You never know. You never know. You wouldn't. You'd like to think not.
I don't think he would. But letting his contract run out is just incredible for Liverpool because he can go to any of their rivals in the Premier League, and because he's a free, they're going to weigh him in.
Yeah.
Or he can go to the big boys in Europe, whoever you.
I don't think he'd go to another Premier League club. I think he'd show that respect to Liverpool if he's made the decision that it's time for him to move on and a new challenge. I think he'll go abroad.
Yeah.
Real Madrid. So if Real Madrid come calling, everyone wants to go to Real Madrid.
There's very few options really for him, isn't there?
Yeah.
I don't mean that as a player, but in terms of the money.
Top. You're talking the top teams in the world.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Real Madrid.
It's only ever going to be the top
So that's
teams
what I'm
in the
saying.
world. Yeah.
Because you're going to start Liverpool. Other than that, you're going to start Liverpool because it's his club. Yeah. He's come through the academy. he is a top-class player.
He's not going to sign for Man City. He's not going to sign for an Arsenal. He's not going to sign for a
Manchester
Manchester
United. It's like Harry
Chelsea.
Kane. He's not signing for a rival, but he's getting weighed in.
Yeah.
Whether it's Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real
Oh, he's
Madrid.
getting weighed in, lads.
Oh,
he's getting weighed in.
But let's just talk about his passing, though.
Oh, he's beautiful, isn't he?
Like you say, like even players like McAllister now, it's them forward players must be thriving. As soon as that ball lands on one of their two's feet, it's like,
Go on then, boys. Go on then, boys.
Wherever I move here, I'm getting fouled.
Yeah, let's go.
Southampton, Ipswich, Fozzie. Southampton are going to go down because they don't take the chances, do they?
No, they don't. But it's always going to be the way, isn't it? For a newly promoted team, goals. It's scoring goals gets you safe. It's as simple as that. And I feel for Southampton, to be perfectly honest with you, because they've done really well in this game. They've got to the 95th minute of the game, and it was a horrible deflection that robbed them of 3 points. Really, Aaron Ramsdale played fantastically well. Young Dibbling for Southampton looks an incredible player. Tyler Dibbling. Last week, actually, I watched a few highlights of him. Looks lovely, real kind of fluid with the ball. Fantastic. So they've got some fantastic players. But, as usual, it's putting the ball in the back of the net that counts.
And what about Ipswich? Because Hutchison looks really lively.
Yeah, very good.
But, again, the end product's just not there, Robbo.
Yeah, no, he's a young lad developing his game still. And, yeah, I mean, with a lot of these wingers now, he was a Chelsea boy, wasn't he? He went on loan to Ipswich last year in the Championship. He done really well, but he was in and out. And I think for him now, it's consistency. Yeah. When you're playing in the Premier League, it's a totally different league to the Championship. So that final third end product of what we're talking about, that's just practice. That's just keep working on that on the training pitch. So take the balls for extra, go and keep practicing, go and keep working on your delivery or your head up, looking for passes. And that will come. Yeah, for me, that will come. But that's
they don't have time for it. They don't have the luxury of.
You've got to make time. Yeah. As a player, you have to make time for doing that extra work. There's no excuses. If you're not doing it, then you don't expect to get better. If you do it, you will get better because you know you're out there practicing and working hard on it.
They need that person in there that's doing it.
Don't
they? Because they're losing points.
But Ipswich, like you say, the two teams that have come up, it was always going to be a struggle for them anyway. But like you say, it's. Like Ben said, it's an important point for Ipswich at 95th minute. Deflected goal, no matter what, it's a goal. So they get that point. Yeah, they just need to pick their points up at home as much as they can. But yeah, talk about Southampton. The way they play, they're always going to get goals conceded against them just because they play open. That's the way Russ wants the team to play, and they're going to concede goals doing it, aren't they?
They need 2 or 3 goals to win a game.
Yeah.
Like Shea Adams, ex-Birmingham player. Fought really hard to become an established Premier League player. They let him go and they replaced him with Archer. Missed a penalty last week, missed a couple of good chances in this game. He's not got off the mark in the Premier League. It's hard to replace somebody, and some would argue Shea Adams weren't quite a Premier League player, but because of his time in there, he knew what were required, and he'd get Southampton 10, 12 goals, and that might have been enough. But I of course you feel sorry for a goal so late in the game, but Man United did them last weekend. Set piece, corners, nobody on the edge of the box. They win a first contact, nobody on the edge of the box. You're asking for trouble at that level to give players of any kind of quality time and space on the edge of the box. Yes, the deflection goes in. If you set up like that, you're going to deserve to be.
95th minute, yeah, to have a corner against, backs to the wall, 1-0 up, just see it out. You can't let any opposition player get on the edge of the box, manage to get it down on his chest and get a shot off, yeah? Once you get that shot off, anything can happen. All bets are off. Deflection, it goes in the back of the net. But you can't allow it.
Just on that, Foz, this isn't just this year, though. Southampton have been poor at set pieces. Last year, they conceded goals for fun from set pieces. Yeah. So it's carrying it on still. Yeah. And I think if you've got something there that needs fixing, you need to work on that and you need to understand it, but they're obviously not.
They can get away with it in the Championship because they can score goals. But this result, in all fairness, it's awful for both teams. Yeah, it is. It's absolutely awful for both teams. These are the games that you have to rely on and count on to get 3 points from. And if you're not, it's bad.
And isn't Shea Adams top of the league with Torino now in Italy?
He's banging him in.
He's a goal scorer.
It's like he's a goal scorer. So it really hurts you. And the point Robbo made, Shea Adams, every day after training, were doing sharp finishing drills to get anywhere near the level required. Yep. So, proof's in the pudding.
All right, then, Leicester, Everton, lads. We had a bit of a monsoon, didn't we, Saturday afternoon in the Midlands? Certain areas, localised showers, localised storms, and it certainly hit Leicester anyway. The rain came down. It kind of affected the game a little bit because I don't know if you watch the highlights. It starts off lovely. Fantastic.
Sean Dyche was putting sun cream on.
Sean Dyche was putting sun cream on.
Forehand.
Not at the end.
And then up to half time, wow, did it come down. And it kind of, I think it probably affected the quality of the game a little bit. I don't know if you saw what Jordan Pickford nearly sort of spilled into the back of his net.
Like when it's so torrential,
it's
really
horrible.
bad with the gloves.
Yeah.
And it's technically the other way, and it's difficult to play.
It is, yeah. I think people see these lovely pitches and they think, oh, the weather can't really affect it that much. But when you have that much rain in such a short space of time, honestly, puddles start appearing, the ball sticks sometimes, it skips sometimes. As a goalie, you don't know what the gloves are going to do. You're used to playing in a certain... And it completely affects everything. So it does. It changes the quality. It diminishes the quality quite a lot, to be fair.
Fozzie, let me ask you a question then. So with the game, Everton have gone 1-0 up again.
Yeah.
Haven't got it over the line again. Does this start to creep in?
It does.
Because it's becoming a habit.
It does creep in, and it's a horrible feeling as well. It's a really horrible feeling because you can get off to a fantastic start like Everton have done in the last few weeks, and then as soon as you score that goal or you score that second goal, you go, uh-oh, and subconsciously you take a step back and you're not on the front foot, and then something happens, a mistake happens there, and then that leads into that. A goal gets scored, and it's like, well, it's inevitable now, isn't it? And it does. You do not believe how... I don't know how it happens. It just comes over you, and you know it's coming, don't you?
It's a mentality thing, isn't it? And especially for Everton at this moment in time, is they're just having that sticky patch of they keep conceding these goals, and it is as soon as they score, when you watch them, they go 15 yards deeper, whereas other teams will go on the front foot more. You've just scored, come on, then we're going for another. We're going to go for another. But with an Everton at the moment, they just can't find that balance.
It's a horrible place to be.
Yeah, so as defenders, straight away now, their mentality will be, we've scored. Sharp shot, let's keep it nice and solid. But now you're encouraging the opposition team to get momentum and put loads of pressure on you. And then that pressure, at the end of it, it does, you concede because, like you say, we see it with the Man City Arsenal game towards the end. Once you get all that pressure and you're defending your box you can only do it for so long, can't you?
It must be hard for Sean Dyche, Watto, because they've only named 8 subs, 2 of which are goalkeepers.
Yeah.
He can't ring the changes, can he?
I think it's really difficult for him. Look, if he looks back over the last few weeks, when you get in front in a Premier League game, you'd expect 1 or 2 of them occasions you're going to go on and not only take a point and win the game. So he'll be very frustrated. I think the fact that they concede from a corner, which he would pride himself on defending, is going to hurt him a little bit more. But he's not got the options. I mean, for them, all he can do is say, look, lads, we've got a point, we're off the board, we're away from home, we've got to move on. And that's all he can say. And he's wanting to try and get some players fit and be ready. But there's so much noise around Everton, it must be really difficult for him to keep that group focused and doing what he wants them to do, because the longer it goes without that win, the harder it becomes mentally. Yeah. And instead of taking the bold, brave decisions, you go safe. And in the end, when you start going safe, it costs you.
Yeah.
But it's very hard for him.
And he had that at Burnley, didn't he? He had that safety net of knowing that it would, like, you haven't got the history of what the Everton have got, the fans' expectations. Yeah. So when you watched his Burnley team compared to this team, they would go and win that game. That Burnley team would go and win that game comfortably because of how they were all organised and they all knew. This Everton team are not like that at this moment in time.
No.
Fulham, Newcastle, lads. A couple big turning points in this game. Okay, so first of all, fantastic result for Fulham. They've started the season very, very well. Couple of their players, Emile Smith-Rowe, Raul Jimenez, fantastic. But there was a couple moments in this game, again, we've already spoke about today, playing out from the back and the risk and high-risk football. Fulham got away with one. Bernd Leno played it into Emile Smith-Rowe, too close to the player, but they got away with it. Newcastle, on the other hand, had one late on. Himeraj trying to play it across him. Gets caught, 3-1, game over.
Lads, right, I was a crap footballer, but the first thing I got taught as like a defender playing football is don't put the ball across your own box. Like, what the hell is Guimaraes doing?
Yeah, but we've just been speaking about this before with decision-making in the games. So Leno can see that Smith-Rowe is being marked closely by Shah. So there's a risk factor there of going, if I play that ball in there, that's getting intercepted.
But Shah's buzzing off this, right?
Shah's like,
yes, this is what I want. Yeah. This is what I want.
So straight away, the goalkeeper, you're taking that out of like the player's hands now of going, I'm not even going to put you under pressure there.
Yeah.
So I'm going long, and we go. As a team, you squeeze. But he's made that rash decision of going, if it lands to any other player, no disrespect to Shah, if it lands to an attacking player, it's a goal, like a Joe Linton or someone like that. They're putting that in the back of the net. Harvey Barnes, with the form that he's in at the moment, with scoring goals, he's going to score. They get away with it. But then you talk about Gurez pass, like you got told as players, do not play the ball across the...
square balls
across the pitch.
Oh, no.
Because it's 100% getting, intercepted.
Yeah, and it is.
And it did, and it got punished.
Yeah. He got punished.
It's frightening, but looking at Marco Silva, right, and we were talking off camera, weren't we? And Emile Smith-Rowe has an absolutely unbelievable start, but look at Alex Iwobi and Adama Traore. Now, historically, these guys have probably been accused of being a bit inconsistent. Yep. They haven't always been firm fan favourites. But Watto, is he getting a tune out of them?
Look, I think them two players were phenomenal, and Traore especially. I mean, Kelly got taken off at half-time for Newcastle. I mean, he'll have been relieved to come off because, honestly, he had the toughest 45 minutes he's had for a long time. And Fulham were outstanding in that first half. And yet, in a strange way, Newcastle make the changes. They score after 46 minutes. So it's a minute into the second half. And naturally, they're Fulham like 2-0 up an Everton scenario. Yep. But they showed a bit more resilience, a bit more character. Yes, Leno got away with one. I mean, to be fair, they do it so many times in training that all place just through the lines into your six, he'll bounce out. But you've still got to sense the moment there. And Shah's on him all day. And if he'd have just had that composure, like Robbo said, really, he should have just squared it. It's a tap-in for the goal. But they got away with it. But I just thought Fulham showed some resilience to stay through that point of conceding straight away. And in the end, look, Guimaraes makes it just an horrendous decision to play squared across the goal. But in all honesty, it's into injury time, and Fulham had kind of weathered the storm at that point, to be honest with you. But they've got some top players now, like Fulham have had in the past, but I think this manager is getting the best tune out of them. And I think it's just a nice setup there, Fulham, for them.
Yeah.
They've got some very good players. It's a nice pitch. It's a nice stadium. Fans aren't too demanding. You've got the London lifestyle. And I think it's suiting some of them players now. But Marco Silva's a very good manager, and his man management must be excellent because he's getting the best out of these guys.
And Emile Smith-Rowe, Ben, has that ship sailed like with Arsenal? Is he too old? Have things moved on? Would there be like a buyback clause? Is that something you could see, or is that just a...
I think we'd have heard about it. I think Arsenal, because he's obviously come up through the academy there, if there was a buyback clause, Arsenal would have straight away, when they sold him, said, like, listen, we love Emile, and there is going to be a buyback clause just in case, because we know the quality that he's got. But for me, honestly, there's no surprise that he's doing what he's doing now at Fulham. It didn't work for him at Arsenal. It was too much of a big pond. And now he is at Fulham, where he gets to be the main man. He gets all this love, not only from his manager, his teammates, all the fans absolutely adore him. And he goes out on a Saturday afternoon full of confidence, and he's showing everybody what he can do now. And there's a lot of Arsenal fans who will look at it and go, oh, we shouldn't have sold it. But in all honesty, you should have sold him. That's what you had to do, because it just would not have worked back at Arsenal.
That just
it's
goes,
as simple as that.
Goes to show the level that Arsenal are at, as much as anything else.
It is, yeah. And I saw actually, it was funny, after the game, Fulham put, I think it was a tweet or Instagram or something, a picture of Emile Smith-Rowe saying, this is your home now, Emile. And there's lots of Arsenal fans looking at it, especially now Odegaard's injured, saying, oh my God, what we could do with a player like Emile Smith-Rowe. Having said that, though, if he was to play in that game, the Man City game at the weekend, I don't think he'd have enjoyed it so much, because that's not his game. Get backs to the walls defending, it's not his game. But if you give him the ball in tight spaces, tight places, he'll do wonders for you.
Yeah, okay. And then what about, this is a Dave Watson, Ben Foster wet dream. Crystal Palace versus Man United, 0-0, goalkeepers on flames. And again, Onana has taken a fair bit of constructive criticism on this show. But that double save, Ben.
What up?
Yeah, well, look, you live for the moments, don't you? You know, it's interesting because in that game, Henderson had all the highlights, and obviously Henderson had been at Man United with Onana, and Onana's probably sat there thinking, you know, like, this guy's left Man United, he's keeping us at bay here, but the moment comes for him, and it's a save, the first one he's expected to make, but because it comes back across him to his left after the parry to the right, and then to get up so quickly, to get two hands and get the block on that action, the agility and the bravery, really, in some ways, to get up and get into that moment is incredible. But how that game finished 0-0 is a credit to both goalies for sure. But there were some big chances missed in the game. But if you a Palace fan, you know you're always going to create something at home, and it's difficult for any away team. But for Man United, on the back of winning 3 at Southampton, they have to go and win that game if they've got any aspiration of doing anything. Fair play to Dean Henderson, made 2 or 3 big saves. Onana's double save for sure, but I think for Palace it just gives them something to build on.
Can I talk about this double save from Onana? So a couple of weeks ago we broke down a David Raya save, and I said basically I don't think there's another goalie that would make that save, because the way David Raya is built, his size, his height, his weight, he's a very sort of nimble, agile, sort of smaller goalkeeper, really. So when he hits the floor, he can just pop back up. Not many other goalies are like that, are built like that. I don't think there's any other goalie that makes that second save like Onana saves it, because he is so agile and he is so powerful as well. Like to be able to get up and watch his back as well when he does it. His back is like, it's bent backwards. It's arched over.
That's why it's better than some of the saves we've seen.
It's
on the doubles,
phenomenal.
because he has to get high.
He has to get high.
Get up there
watch
for
his
the
back.
challenge.
Your back, honestly, I'm watching it going, oh, it hurts my back that does watching that. It's horrible. But the how he manages to arch it and the bravery that he shows, he knows he can get kicked in the face there. He could happily get kicked in the face, but he'll take one for the team. I love it, I do. I thought it was an unbelievable
Has a corner
save.
been turned with him? Because I think last season it wasn't just mistakes or something. I think some of his positional sense was bizarre. But we're not really seeing it, or is it not just being highlighted as much?
No, I think he's settled down a bit, is how you'd probably put it a bit more. Is where we spoke about Kepa earlier. We spoke about Vicario earlier, trying to come and get involved in stuff that he doesn't need to come and get involved in. And I think that's probably been the same with Onana as well. He's trying to make work for himself sometimes. Whereas I think in the last few weeks, last month, probably this season even, he has just sort of realised his role a little bit more. The players around him are a bit more comfortable, defenders are a bit more comfortable, and I think that's shown in his game as well. But this double save at the weekend.
Right, here's a little quick panel vote. Lisandro Martinez, red card, yes or no?
Yes.
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 Well, I could not believe the commentary and that everyone wasn't fully on board with this being a red card.
It's one of the most obvious red cards. When you do that movement that he's done, right, it's a red card. I don't care if he got contact or not, right? In fairness, the lad's foot is like that close to both of Martinez's feet. He is so lucky that he's not caught the lad there, by the way.
What's he doing?
It's
I
just
don't know.
horrendous. I don't know what's in his mind, but for the officials, that's the one kind of challenge that has to be stamped.
Oh, it's straight away.
And that's like, I'm not sure what the ruling is. Obviously, look, people will look at it, they'll have the meetings and say, look, that should have been a red, whatever. But there has to be a message sent out, because they are the tackles that are just...
That's the one there, the message that it sends. By not giving them a red card there, the message that sends. So you'll have all these kids watching, everybody watching around the world, and they'll see him do that movement there, right? And they'll think, well, he don't get sent off for it. It's fine, I can get away with doing something like that. But
that's the problem as it falls down the tree.
If you make contact with a player like that, you're breaking bones, mate. You've got 90 kilo landing on top of somebody with the heels of your feet. It's not just 90 kilo. You've got all that downward force as well. You're breaking bones.
I don't know why he'd
don't know
go
why
in
he's
for a
done it.
challenge
I
like
don't
that.
know why
Rob.
he's
You
done
didn't need to.
You don't see that,
You didn't need to. You just
that.
don't know. You don't know what's going through his head at the time of why he's thinking of doing it. That's the hardest thing.
Bonkers.
He got lucky. He got lucky.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
And then, Watto, you were at Villa Park for Villa giving Wolves a bit of a pacing in the end.
In the end, but first half, Villa never got going. They weren't aggressive on the jump. They weren't aggressive on the tackle. Obviously, Konza playing right back and Carlos coming in as centre half, I think disrupted them a little bit. And obviously, Carlos makes a poor mistake with his pass that Kuna intercepts. But I have to say, it is an unbelievable finish. I think Martinez thinks he's going to whip it into his left hand, and he just reverses it in.
It's unsavable, isn't it? Even if you read it and you go for it, it's unsavable.
Honestly, it was incredible. But again, what we'd spoke about, I think Wolves would have been slightly gutted going in at 1-0 because they'd been so dominant. Villa didn't lay a glove on them. They were popping the ball around him. John McGinn came off injured as the board came up, and there were 4 or 5 minutes injury time in that first half. And I didn't think Emery wanted to make the change, so they've played 10 men for the last 5 minutes of injury time so that Emery could get in the dressing room and see whether he wanted to make the change or not. So I thought Wolves could have gone for it because Ante Nouri were incredible down the left. Unlucky with a scramble that I think it Carlos and went wide. But they had the chances in the game to have gone 2, and it would have been different. Emery gets in at half-time, obviously makes the changes. I loved his post-match interview. Basically said, we're shit first half. I wanted him in at half.
He did say that.
I'm shit. I wanted him in at half-time. I wanted to be aggressive. I wanted to be on the jump. I wanted to be on the front foot playing football. And to be fair, it will come in. And as soon as Villa got the first one, Dawson's unlucky with his slight deflection for Watkins. But again, it's playing art. Little bit of unluckiness off Lamina, but playing in tight areas, allowing Villa on the front press. Good pass, and he's in. And from that moment, the game will finish.
The thing is, every week, obviously it's still early days, but every week I keep going, Wolves will be all right. We're a good team.
You're a good team.
But, I mean, you look at the fixtures, Robbo, and they have been extremely unkind. But once you start getting those run of bad results, it's hard to
knocks confidence. It definitely knocks confidence. I think losing Kilman as well is a big loss for him at the back.
Neto as well.
Neto, they've lost some key players, and Gary's obviously not had the funds really to replace them or find the right players to suit what Wolves are all about. But like what I said, I think Wolves have played well in patches of games that you've watched. But they're a soft centre then. Once teams start getting on top of them, they seem to just go to pot, and the other teams then start dominating. But Emre, like you say, get them in at half-time, and that's why he's such a great manager. They've got an unbelievable squad there this year, Villa. They've built for European football as well, so they've had to buy that squad and get it together. And they've shown the quality, like players like Duran and like they say, Watkins, just getting himself again now coming forward from international duty in the summer with the Euros. Again, it takes time to get going, but when he's on form, he's one of the best strikers in the Premier League. With where the goal is, he'll find it.
He is, but he's got Duran, Ben.
Yeah.
I mean, he's breathing down his neck, isn't he? He looks some player.
Duran's lovely, 20 years old, looks a real deal. The goal he scored last week was phenomenal against Everton. But they're just a really well-run football team. They are, from top to bottom, Aston Villa, really, really well football team. And I expected them to win this game, to be fair. I know it took them till half-time to get going properly. But Wolves, I would be worried for Wolves if they didn't play well in patches, like Robbo said there, but they do. They play well in patches, and they've had some very tough games against some very good teams. So I think they once they start playing the teams that are kind of a little bit below them, below their quality anyway, they'll start to pick them apart. But quickly, sorry, just going on from what Watto said there, the moments where you have to put games to bed are the important things. You saw it at Southampton against Manchester United last week. Southampton had plenty of chances, penalty missed. That mentality switch there, when you don't take them chances and you get in at half-time and they get a rollicking and the other team comes out, that's the bit there. If you can keep that, maintain that pressure and put balls in the back of the net, that wins your games. But if you don't, it can work against you.
Well, that's my fear for your team, Wolves, because I thought the centre-forward did really well, but he's not a goal scorer. So he's not going to get 10 goals. So if you're not replacing these goal scorers, that's the problem. For how well they did and the rest of it, and obviously they went 1-0 up, they need. It's
like Southampton, isn't it? Yeah, if you're not going to replace Shea Adams, you're going to struggle.
That's why strikers get paid the big bucks. It is. That's why they get paid the big bucks.
That's why Villa have gone for, like you say, they've got Watkins, but now they're putting pressure on him with Duran.
Yeah.
Because there's that competition now. And these teams can't compete.
Easy 3 games next to Wolves, though. I think they've got City, Liverpool, Brentford and City, so...
You'd like to think, right, once they've got through them, though, that they can go on a little decent run. So I'm going to give it another month or so, and then I'm going to put a few Wolves players in my fantasy because I think they'll start scoring a few goals, all right?
Yeah, but the problem is, though, will Gary get enough time, though, for that?
It's true.
And then a new manager coming in, what's he then going to do to the team? That's your worry for Wolves. Because Gary... I look at Gary and I think what a great English manager he could become. Yeah. But that's given time. Is he going to get time at Wolves?
You've got to look at
I think you've got to look at
are obscene.
Yeah, they're obscene. But, we know what football's like now.
Yeah.
And when you're not a big name, Gary O'Neill, in fairness to him, he's not a big name. This is what happened to him at Bournemouth, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he done a great job, didn't he?
He did a fantastic job at Bournemouth, but they hit a little sticky patch, they get sacked. And I hope Wolves kind of see the bigger picture with this and stick with him. Do you know what it is, lads?
What time is it, Ben?
Yeah. You got this.
Is it the world famous...
Is it
quiz time?
Is it quiz time?
Come on! Come on!
Q&A!
Right, Jamie, 10 questions, and we're going to do the come back in bit today. Yeah, so you're going to agree before the question or during the question that we can all come back in if we all get it wrong.
Yep.
Right, let's go.
Question 1. Who is the only Englishman to represent 4 different clubs in the Champions League?
Raheem Sterling.
Raheem Sterling is the correct
Good start,
answer.
Tom.
Good start.
Liverpool, City, Chelsea and
Arsenal in the week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Off the mark.
Very good.
Question 2. Who was the Liverpool manager before Jurgen Klopp?
Roy Hodgson.
No.
Damn it, no.
Who was the Liverpool manager before Jurgen Klopp?
Rafa Benitez.
No.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I thought he might have gone back again, but it was like Newcastle.
I
Wasn't it?
can't tell you. Got to be a countdown soon, Jay.
You got to be.
What we
able to
seen?
count down. You'd have done me already.
5,
One mine's gone blank with this one.
4, 3, 2.
Dalglish.
No.
Are we
1.
back in?
Bullier.
Are we
No.
back in?
You've got to say when we're back in.
Back in.
Brendan Rodgers.
VAR.
That was close. That's VAR,
It
definitely.
wasn't. It was me.
I think it was Ben.
It was
I
definitely
think it was
fucking me.
Ben.
I can't even
think
believe you're
was
doubting
Ben.
it.
I think it was.
100%
I
was
think-
me.
I think
I
going my
remember
gut
this
last
from a few
time.
weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
I was certain. I was certain, right? I'm not lying to you. I'm certain now.
No, I'm saying it was you.
I know it was
Because
me, I
last week I
promise
did
you.
mess up, so, but like this week
Can't
I
argue with the
agree.
Quizmaster.
It was
Decision
tight.
final. I'll pick.
No, I'm not bothered. You can have the point if you
You know
want.
that little black book that you had, Rob?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It was tight.
Question
It'll be 2
3.
I'll do Lissandro on him.
Is that
later.
my acting though? I acted like I didn't know the answer, and I was like, "Oh, you've got to say when we're back." Brendan Rodgers.
Question 3. What club does Cesc Fabregas manage?
Como.
Como. It was
He
Tom.
said coma. He said coma.
I said Como.
He
He
said
said
coma.
Como. He said Como. It was
said
Tom.
Como
As well.
I said that.
Stop it. Stop trying to nullify
Just
the
nabbed
threat.
you. He just nabbed you, Robbo.
I
Sorry.
definitely did. Thanks, VAR.
Yeah.
You're doing well on VAR, Lukey.
Yeah, he's not even paying attention. He's falling asleep.
Should be 3-0.
No chance.
2-1-0-0. Question 4. Who was the captain of the Leicester City side who won the
Vardy.
Premier
Where's
League?
Morgan?
Where's
Well
Morgan?
done,
Is
Robbo.
the
Well
correct
done.
Very good.
answer. Well done, Robbo.
You put
Question.
me off there with Vardy as well.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Well, you got to say someone. You got to say
Why
someone.
am my palm so clammy?
Oh, the pressure's mounting.
Means
Pressure.
everything.
Question 5. Erling Haaland joined Manchester City's 100 goal scoring club this weekend, scoring a goal against Arsenal. But who is the other current City player who is also in the 100 club?
De Bruyne.
De Bruyne is the correct answer. Well done, Robbo. I thought it'd be quite a hard one. But yeah, he scored 103 goals for Man City.
The question?
That was Watto.
Wait there.
Oh,
Wait there. The 100
Same last
So 103 goals for Man City. It's not necessarily Premier League. Or just
yeah.
103 goals for
Overall,
Man City.
Yeah.
But the 100 clubs the Premier League thing.
No. For City as well. Well done, Watto.
Oh, thank you, mate. Thank
happy
you.
with this,
I thought you'd forgot over here, mate.
Question 7. Which team was the last full English squad to win the FA Cup?
Just full of English players.
Yeah, just English players.
Wimbledon.
No.
Coventry.
Good one, though.
No, not Coventry.
The whole squad.
The whole squad to win the FA
Leicester.
Cup. No.
I'm going to say Liverpool.
No.
Tottenham.
All back in.
Tottenham.
No.
Preston North End.
No.
Whole squad of players.
Arsenal.
No.
It can't be a Premier League team. It'll have to be way back when.
5, 4,
No, come on.
Yeah.
3,
Yeah. Count him.
2,
You just have to give the answer after this.
1.
Millwall.
No. Close to Millwall though. West Ham. 1975.
It's a bad question. I
Yeah,
won't-
we were.
Bad
That's one of his
question.
worst ever.
All right, so I get hard questions or easy questions.
That's one of your worst ever.
Yeah, even Luke said
Watto
that's
played
terrible.
against them that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, nearly.
I thought Wimbledon
Well-
was going to win it. That was a good shout, Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Right, screw you guys.
I like it, Quizmaster.
Question 8. How many points apart did Man City and Arsenal
2.
finish in the last Premier League season? And 2 points is the correct answer.
That was quick.
That was
Oh
really
my
quick.
God.
Yeah,
That was quicker
that
than
was
quick.
very
Wasn't it?
quick.
3-1-1, 2 questions left.
Too late.
And 5 points the year before.
Didn't-
Saw the stat yesterday.
Jeez.
What, when he was
wow.
writing them down on his sheet?
No, this quiz question was done
All
a
right,
while
Jiminy.
back before the season started.
Yeah.
Coincidence then.
Yeah.
Cheers,
You okay, VAR?
Yeah.
Luke?
Back out the black book.
He was flying, Tom, there. Jesus.
Okay. Question 9. In the 2014 and 15 season, when Chelsea won the Premier League, QPR, Burnley, and what other club got relegated?
What year, sorry?
In the 14-15 season, when Chelsea won the Premier League, QPR, Burnley,
West
and
Ham.
what other club got relegated? Not West Ham.
Norwich.
Not Norwich.
Sheffield United.
Bolton.
Not Sheffield United, not Bolton. No, none of them.
We're
All
back in.
back in.
West
Wigan.
Brom.
No and no.
What did they say? Sorry. What did they say,
I
Luke?
can't. Yeah, we
You
can't.
can, because you
I
couldn't.
can't. I can't. I can't. I'm sorry, Robbo.
Are we all back in again?
I would.
just mean you.
Only Ben and Robbo.
Sunderland.
No.
5.
I remember this season. Julio Cesar was playing in goal for QPR.
5,
Jabril Cisse.
4.
Chris Samba, was that
3.
year?
Yeah, all the big.
Newcastle.
Are we
No.
all back in again?
No, we're not all back in.
What?
'cause
Well,
we
you
all
may
had-
as well,
We all
just
had
for
one
the
go.
quiz.
We all had one go.
Yeah, but the quiz is dead otherwise. So keep it going.
All right, you're all back in.
Hull City.
Hull City's the correct answer, Watto. Well done, Watto.
What's the score?
2, 3, 2. What? We're dead. But
Oh, man, me and you. Oh, come on. Last question.
Are you going to do what I did
Yeah,
last
question
week?
10.
Not answer it and be spiteful.
Robbo, just be careful here, Robbo. Just be careful, yeah?
I thought, is there one left, yeah?
One
Oh,
left, yeah.
Always throw
Question
it out there.
10. Which club had the most players at this summer's Euro 2024?
Real Madrid.
No. In the Premier League, sorry.
wow.
You're back in, you're back in.
Chelsea.
No.
Only because they've got the big
Man United.
squad.
No.
Liverpool.
No.
Arsenal.
I haven't had a go yet.
Come on.
You said Real Madrid.
No, I said he's back in, I said he's back in. 'Cause it was
Oh,
my
no,
bad.
but come on.
No,
We
it's
should
my
all
bad.
be back in.
No. No, because he
Not
answered.
only have you showed him all the answers, you
I
give
have
him
not.
second chances.
Newcastle.
No, you're all back in.
Man City.
Man City's the correct answer, Robbo.
Sorry, bad
13
question.
players.
It's a bad question.
That's not a bad question.
Bad question,
What could-
poorly worded.
Tom's won it.
So that's
13 players.
13 players went to the Euros this summer, yeah.
so we're now on the leaderboard. Watto 2, Ben 2, me 2.
Yep.
Well done, boys.
Well done, guys. Well done,
You put the
Tomo.
guest above Mark.
You've got to get a point there.
Well,
No, you're better than zero.
It is, isn't it? Alphabetically,
a zero.
it should be, shouldn't it?
Well done, Tom.
Well done, Tom.
I think we might be up in St George's next week for this.
We
I need to
might
speak
be.
to you about that, by the way.
We've got-
Oh, you're away?
No, I'm not away. But it have to be. I've got a flight at 2 o'clock.
I can imagine it's not going to be early.
We'll figure that out.
We'll sort it out. Everybody, thank you as always. We will see you next week.